Can you, Kevin, can you disable the chat? Did we try and do that last time and we didn't know how? Oh, I'm not, no.
$1,000.
That's true.
It doesn't take long.
Hello, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order at, and I will forget the meeting was 7:09 p.m.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes from the 10th of April and the 11th of April? And if so, are there any changes? And if not, can I have a motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from 4/10/23 and 4/11.
I'll second. All in favor?
Do we have a fifth member?
Oh, I hear her heels. I
Yeah.
hear her heels too. Thank you. Hello, hello, welcome. No, it's okay. We just started. So hello, everyone. It's nice to see everybody. So moving on to correspondence and community input. I know we have several members out in video land. Would anyone like to say anything? Or has anyone here received any correspondence that they would like to share?
I have not received any.
I haven't received any. I have not. I have not either. So, sure. If anyone would like to say anything, if you could please either raise your hand or speak in the chat. Okay.
I'll click.
Okay, so moving on to the examination and the authorization for payment of bills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packets, you have I have water.
That's okay.
You right?
Thank you. Just like that.
You have a bill roll totaling $597,031.52. The vast percentage of this bill roll is a payment to the town of Swampscott for $546,426.58, which is our third and last payment for the education and the co-curricular and extracurricular activities of our 7th through 12th graders for the year. Everything else is very, very typical. You have a special education bus invoice of $11,442. And you have some attorney's bills. All of those attorney bills are related to the special education process, where there have been a couple of meetings within the last month when a attorney for an organization and or a parent was present at an IEP meeting. And therefore, I have instructed the special education department to always have an attorney there to represent the district. And that's just good business. If a parent does not bring an attorney, we typically don't have. That's just the way it goes. And we have some cases where there are as many as 4 attorneys in the room. One representing the state, for example. One representing one or multiple guardians or parents, and one representing the school district. So they are difficult meetings sometimes, and sometimes the attorneys really help a lot. And I have to say their presence is more positive than delaying or negative. I've always found them to be very helpful. And obviously, everyone at the meeting, their primary concern is to provide the best possible education for the student. Within the confines of the Mass General Law, obviously. And then there's the Healy Bus Company, which is our general education bus company to Swampscott Middle School and High School, and that bill is in here too. So, Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like to respectfully ask a member of the school committee to make a motion to approve the bill roll of the 25th of April of $597,031.52.
Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the payroll from April 25th, 2023 for $597,031.50.
A second.
All in favor? So moving on to the superintendent's report, and the first item on the agenda is the principal's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd be happy to share my report, and thank you to Superintendent Paratozzi for making copies for the staff of the committee. Under teaching and learning, I want to let you know that we now have 25 students registered. So we've been emailing folks who aren't registered yet, and I believe we've captured all the students that are at the school. And now the ones that are left are, in the town. And so there are still some that could register, but we have 25, and that's early. Typically that's summertime when we get those numbers. So so we get the early, so that's good. We've been getting our instruments repaired. We have these Orff instruments. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're wooden and they're kind of like a xylophone, but all wood pieces. And our music teacher, Mr. Bullock's been getting them repaired. NEF sponsored this. They're fantastic. It's now a full set for the whole class. Can each have their own. Each student can have their own instrument.
That's great.
During music class, and he uses them a lot, and he mixes the different instruments that you see there, which is great. So that was really nice. I want to just say thanks to NEF for sponsoring that. Our decodable readers that I've been sharing about have arrived, and Mr. Wallet was sorting them today and working with staff on how we should make them available. And these are, it might be a story that has ED in it a lot, or ends in silent E. So students who are learning a certain part of a word, you don't get a regular book that's going to have a lot of it in there. So this is a kind of a focus area. And so the teachers are excited about that.
What grade level is that?
We're looking at K-3. Yeah, K-3. Probably K-2 is the core, and then some intervention in third. Today we had meetings with our PD, curriculum, and health and safety committees. So this is a way to collect input from teachers on what we do for PD, what we do for, also we need to have a curriculum committee anyhow. We're looking at adopting, looking at social studies curriculum for next year. But they met today and also looked at other curricula that they want to discuss, and a good way to get input. And then we also had the health and safety committee. And so they'll start, looking into curriculum. They'll start recommending PD workshops that they're using Google Docs and Google Forms to collect input from everybody in the staff. And then we'll see where we want to go with it for next year.
Are these new committees or have they been longstanding?
No, these are new. These are all new.
Great. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
That is great.
We have Superintendent Paratozzi encouraged us to really use the 10 hours that we have every year after school.
Yeah.
And so we implemented that, and now we've just looked at how we can use that time to actually have more collaboration, meeting.
That's great.
They're using that. I love to hear it. Thank you.
We have a new set of stairs going up the slide on the Forest Playground. It wasn't originally supposed to be there, but the students insisted when we weren't watching them, just charging up that hill.
Any erosion?
Yeah, it's so much erosion, it's so bad, yeah.
It looks great, I saw it today.
Oh, good.
It looks so great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we I was working with some parent volunteers, putting it in. Stuart Randall and Susan Cadigan were working with us on that this weekend. I mean, this break. And thank you, yeah, all recycled materials. The beams are actually from my grandfather's house on 40 steps. And then the logs are from a fence that came down behind my house. So everything's reused, except for the screws, which were $40 a box. Yep. And so, yeah, it is, the idea is not to go down it. We're gonna stress not to go down it because it's so steep. I mean, it's not unsafe, but we had to do something about the erosion because the slide was just coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
And so hopefully they'll go, if they insist on going up, which is hard to do for a toddler. A toddler can't really even climb there. We have a slanted piece and, we have some ways to keep kids from using it. If they're not able to. The idea in this type of situation is they're only gonna take the risk if they're able to themselves. So as long as a parent doesn't, but it's safe, so, and it's helpful. And then for upcoming events, May 3rd, we have a walk, roll, bike to school day. May is bike to school, bike to work month. And so to support that, DOT is putting out this, and we'll have prizes for kids and some guests.
That's wonderful, thank you. Very
Sure
much.
thing.
So moving back to the superintendent's report and the facilities update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The facility's in good shape. As you know, there was quite the rainstorm over the weekend, and all the water stayed outside the building. That's always the a positive. We do have some HVAC small projects going on. We had a small leak in a pump on one of the boilers, but we have a double boiler system, so the heat, no one ever knew it other than the custodians and myself, and I'm not even sure Mr. Andrews knew it because it was in the boiler room. That is in the process of being repaired. A couple of our Univet machines, which are the machines you see underneath that double window there, need some work. Sometimes the fans get out of alignment. Sometimes I have no idea how, but objects get into them and cause loud banging and sometimes even damage. So we're working on those. But the biggie is, I don't know if anyone had any time to see the crane when it was in front of the school, but I do have a video which I will get to you.
I think the kids would like to watch.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking the preschoolers especially, and the learners, they would actually really like to see that
Right.
video.
With their own school.
Yes.
Good idea. It's a great idea.
So on Tuesday of last week, the old unit was disconnected and lifted off of the building. And then the new unit was lifted onto the building and connected. After that was done, we had a roofer go in and make sure that where the very large object, it's about the size of a pickup truck bed. It's about 8 feet by 3.5 feet. It's really large. And it does two things. It runs on natural gas and it creates heat, but it also creates a natural air exchange, which we need. So it actually has two functions. It's quite beautiful. I went up to take a picture today for you, but there were workmen. There were workmen installing the controller. The company that put the unit in is a different company than the company that takes care of the electronics, the computerized control relays and all that. So they were up there and I didn't want to disturb them. And I didn't want to take their picture either. You never know where that gets you. So I will take a picture. While we're up there, Vinny and I cleaned all the drains, so I mean, there was something to do. The controls were finished today, and we're gonna have a testing within the next couple of days. So next school committee meeting, you will see a invoice for $49,950. Those of you who remember, the original bid was $50,250, but it was discounted.
Okay, that's great.
Yes, so that's, if you remember, the other bids we got were 59,000, so it's really, it's now a full $10,000 less than the other two bids. And we are paying prevailing wage, which is required in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for public projects. And that's just about it. It's been calm.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. For the building. Everything is working. And as you can tell, we got an influx of new chairs that we're all sitting on, and they were free. All we had to do was ask the DPW to bring them over. Someone, and I apologize, I don't know the individual's name, is either an owner or a chief operating officer of a multiple site company, and they closed one site.
Great.
And they donated chairs to the town of Nahant, and some of our teachers got them. We actually got 2 full loads, of about 18 chairs, I believe.
Yeah, nice. New chairs are all.
They are, and these are not brand new, but they are in phenomenal condition.
Brand new to us.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's about it. So, Madam Chair, or morphing and rolling right into the personnel update. As you know from one meeting ago, or excuse me, 2 meetings ago, we had an unanticipated paraprofessional resignation. And we had another one of those Monday. Neither were related to anything related to the organization of the school district or to administration or lack of guidance or anything like that. They were personal decisions that people made, and they made them quickly and put us in a little bind. I have to applaud Mr. Andrews, who worked hard last week. Today, I already sent an appointment letter for a full-time paraprofessional. We don't have that second full-time paraprofessional application, so we have a second paraprofessional that we're hiring. But I don't believe it's full-time, but it covers the hours we need. So by next week, and again, applauding Mr. Andrews, he has pieced together something because we literally got the information about this person on Monday afternoon.
Monday morning.
And of course, I was way far away, but we were able to communicate electronically, and again, Kevin did a great job of contacting people. We are going to be advertising 2 positions. One for next year. We will need a certified occupational therapist assistant, commonly called a CODA, because our CODA of several years, she is now a certified occupational therapist and is looking for full-time work, obviously. In addition to that, one of the individuals who recently resigned had a second part in our personnel. That individual was also going to be a summer program teacher. So today I posted for the staff, and tomorrow Mr. Andrews will advertise actually multiple positions. I sent him an email very late this afternoon. We will be advertising for the summer program teacher. 1 position's available. I think one of our staff members may be interested. We will be advertising for a CODA, a certified occupational therapist, part-time. That's an hourly rate, somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 to $40 an hour. We will be advertising for substitute teachers, substitute paraprofessionals, and substitute custodians.
For next year.
For that, well,
Summer.
substitute, we'll just get them on a list and use them when we need them. And our teaching staff has been stable for several months, as you know, which is always good.
Sorry, can I ask a question? So did you say that two paraprofessionals resigned this week?
Oh,
No,
that was from the other.
one, in January, I brought to your attention earlier,
Yes, okay.
and one this week.
Okay, thanks.
So it's total of 2 full-time paraprofessionals.
Right.
And we are still advertising, excuse me, I apologize. I believe we're still gonna continue to advertise for full-time paraprofessionals, we're gonna leave that out there.
Certainly.
How many paraprofessionals do we have?
We have. Now, the verb have is very interesting. We
How many
employ,
positions?
if
How
we're
many
full,
positions?
if we're full loaded, we employ
Sorry.
4 full-time.
Okay.
I'm checking that now.
Yeah. And we have about 4 or 5 part-time.
Can you say what it is, Tony, or do you want to wait?
And, yeah, 4
Yeah, four full-time.
or full-time. And Madam Chair, I think it's important because I know you did a survey and people in the staff commented upon. Things change. You know, there's movement, there's fewer full-time paraprofessionals than in the past. I can assure you that it's not our choice. We are not hiring part-time people in order to avoid something or to make a part-time staff. We are hiring the best people we can who are interested in the positions. Today, I met with one who is interested in a full-time paraprofessional job. I am thrilled. I am pleased to tell you that this individual is a retired guidance counselor from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts with over 20 years' experience, who wants to be a para. But we have been advertising for a full-time para since January. And I know 3 people have turned the job down, right?
Right, so we have, if I may add, we advertised it in January, we hired somebody, and then I relaunched the ad so that it hits everyone's inbox again. That was more recent in March, so we got 4 more applicants. And we've been after these applicants and they just don't reply. Kind of ghost applicants, I guess, and then we got this one that Mr. Pantalgi mentioned that actually came right in. And so we have actually two folks that are part-time, and he is exactly right. I keep on asking the folks, do you want full-time? Do you want 5 days? And they just can't, they can't even add 1 day for substitute teaching. So we just, that's what, we're happy who we have. I'm so glad they come, and it's great to work with them.
Can I ask a question? So if the 4 or 5 part-time positions that you have for paraprofessionals, they could be full-time positions, or is that something that requires?
It's more like job sharing, someone works 2
I
days
guess
and
that's
someone
what
else
I
works 3
mean,
days.
Right, so I
Yeah.
guess that would be my question, is that right now you're essentially splitting work, like.
Well,
like
no,
you're splitting
right.
a position.
Right,
Um,
we're filling it through multiple people, we're not
Okay.
choosing to, if I may say so,
Right.
we're not choosing to split it, we're
Yeah.
saying, we need this person, we need this role,
You need these hours.
can anyone come in?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll do 3 days, I'll do 2 days,
okay,
and that's it, it's not,
yeah,
I have somebody else who's retired, who's gonna come and do just lunch bunch, 5 days though.
right,
5 days, great, but it's only 2 hours, 3 hours, how many people are gonna, so
yeah.
she wants to do it.
So would you say then we have 4 full-time right now, and then we have 4 or 5 part-time, so would that translate to 2 or 3 full-time, 2 or 3 full-time, or just 2 full-time if ever we're to find that person?
Yeah, that's a really difficult question to
Okay.
answer. I'd say it's probably 6 maximum for
Right.
full-time
Max,
positions.
FTEs, yeah.
But what happens is during the course of a year, IEP meetings happen,
Yes.
Yeah.
and sometimes the need for a paraprofessional is reduced, or someone moves. Or a student who needs a paraprofessional many hours of the week goes to a different placement.
Mhm.
So it's kind of, you know,
Yeah.
again, when you look at the survey comments, it's accurate.
Mhm.
The comments are accurate. It's very difficult not to have that happen.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, in the old days, you know, you'd hire 5 or 6 paraprofessionals, they'd be there all year, they come back the next year. That hasn't been what's been happening.
Yeah.
Through no fault of the hiring process here.
Is 6 FTEs enough?
I hire the people that are sent to me by the building administration. So there's no limit to the FTE in the budget. And the reason I can say that is that we have a line item for paraprofessionals. Then I have a line item for special education paraprofessionals. Then we have grants for special education and for academic support that I could use if necessary to pay paraprofessionals. So the short answer is we are probably more limited by the people we can find to do the job than
Oh,
by the
certainly.
number of positions we have.
No doubt about that. And if I could just go over the math on what we do have for staffing, we have. So. What we wanna fill, we had a resignation of full-time. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-time people that were here 5 days a week. Full-time, 5 paras. And then on top of that, we had one pair splitting a full-time. And then we have 2 half-times by people who don't wanna work full-time. One of them's a retired English teacher from Salem High School, he's fantastic. He does our literacy program.
And we also have a paraprofessional who's phenomenal, who, because of something else in that person's life, has a limited number of hours that they can work.
So it's 7.0.
Yeah.
I count.
Wow.
Yeah, we got, so Hannah, Robin, Heidi, Gail, and Barry Ann, we're all working together at the same time.
And, you know, Robin, who's the fifth?
Heidi, that's Hannah, Robin, Heidi,
Heidi.
Gail, Barry Ann,
It's 5,
5, and they were all straight full time.
that's right. And now we have 3. And 1 full-time coming on, and
Yeah.
then 1 split position.
Yeah.
To make up the 5. But again, if you add up the hours we have, it's more than 5.
Oh, no, yeah, it's in total, it's 7, yeah,
At peak.
5 full time and then some, and then 2.0 people out man hour, day.
My concern is
So I
that,
understand.
is that enough, in terms of coverage needed for all of the children?
I do think so, yeah, absolutely. I'm comfortable with it. Very much so. We also have a full-time, a part-time volunteer he's 4 days a week. And so we have a paraprofessional who doesn't have regular lunch duty, for example. She just has lunch with her colleague. And the rest of the time is scheduled with students, so she doesn't have no duty. I mean, that's not a typical type of thing. And And we have, we have 3 staff members we intend to have 3 staff members for preschool. Plus 2 teachers, so it's 5 adults for 36 students.
You may need something.
Okay,
I was gonna say, it's totally random and not, well, it's tangential for this.
Yeah.
line of thought. So in the middle school. They send out emails to see if parents want to volunteer in the lunchroom.
yeah,
I don't know if that's something, when I was on maternity leave with Kiela, I came in and was in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
Like, I remember,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, we used to have, we have 2 people plus me. And plus a staff member in the kitchen
Yeah.
for 60 students.
No, right, it's a
Okay.
lot, but I'm saying if.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would, I imagine it stopped because of COVID, I don't even remember. how
It
I
was
did
right,
it.
right, but yeah, I never coordinated it, and I was 7 years, so yeah, it was right, I heard about it though. But I really do feel that, the reason we created a position of a reading support in the classroom was to add someone who could just do lunch or recess. So we have somebody who just does lunch or recess, but to get him on board, I gave him a bunch of reading groups, and he's fantastic at all the jobs. And so, so now we have from, every class has a guy, 2 adults in the room to do guided reading. And it's dividing 16 kids by 3 or 2. So,
I guess my
Yeah.
point is that
Oh,
if
yeah.
it was ever a situation where it's stretched thin, covering lunches.
yeah,
I don't know how easy it is to get it covered or how many people volunteer. I was told a
Yeah.
hard no on me volunteering by my own son. But some kids like having their
Yeah.
parents in
Yeah.
school,
yeah.
so just a night.
It's nice to have the consistency, because right now we have a 5-day-a-week volunteer,
It
a
sounds
4-day
like
week
it's a better
volunteer.
situation.
And, I don't have to go over routine,
Yes.
it's great. We get all the milk out, we have someone, we're well staffed, yeah, for
So
sure.
that, sorry, can I ask a question that is based off of that? So 4 adults in the cafeteria for lunch. Including the chef.
So we have folks we have kitchen, 2 adults that are just doing milk and saying sit down. And then me coming in to do the chime every time, 10 minutes in,
Okay,
coming back for recess dismissal.
and that's my next question. How many people, I'm assuming they're pairs, are supervising recess?
2. 2 plus, I'm not really
In and
doing
out.
focus work at lunchtime. I'm in and
Okay, in
out,
and
out.
So 2 people for all the grades for recess.
Yep,
And is that enough?
2 people for each recess.
Yeah, because all the grades don't have recess
No.
together.
no,
No, meaning like.
yeah,
the
60 and
others are
60 or
older.
so, yeah. No, 2 people for 60 is, I think, fine. We're not going, I think, if you add, you're not gonna hear what kids say to each other 100 yards away,
Yeah.
So if you add more adults, typically folks just start getting together and talking more, or, honestly, that's what I typically
Right,
see.
you feel like the supervision would be better,
No,
necessarily.
no, we have a FAR and we have responsibilities. In the past, when we have a student with a handicap or a condition,
Yeah.
we've had more.
Yeah.
Certainly, we've had 3 when we needed to.
Yeah.
But I don't see that more is gonna reduce the number of times that kids are gonna go after each other, or, play soccer unfair.
Well, I don't even mean physical, I think, just from what I tend to
Yeah.
hear is like, and it may not be physical, it may just be like an argument or kids getting,
Right.
sensitive.
So I saw it happen today, 50 yards away, so I went right over and it was a little
Yeah.
big pile, I said, no, stop doing that, and I couldn't even figure out what happened because they were playing soccer again.
Right,
And I saw a conversation and went to them.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
I don't feel like we don't have enough I was surprised when I started here how big the field was, I was shocked and there was no fence. I was like, my goodness, coming from Medford, but it works great, and kids know where to stop,
okay.
I don't have any concerns about the recess. And I'm the recess teacher. I tell people when they get in trouble, I'm the one who calls the parent about it because it's recess, it's my class.
Mhm.
So I don't, honestly don't have concerns about it.
So moving on to old business. I can speak to it. Speak to it.
We can both. if you
We
wish.
can both speak to it. So this Thursday, we have a meeting scheduled to meet with the Swampscott School Committee to discuss options for the incoming sixth grade class. I don't know if you wanna.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think it would behoove us to explain to our audience and visitors that the meeting is an executive session. Both school districts have posted it. And the posting is actually in your executive session packet, so you can see it. And there will be no audience or visitors allowed, and there is no Zoom or technology involved. And that is because it is considered by the host school district to be a strategy development session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. And that would be us. And it is a strategy session respect to litigation and collective bargaining, and it has been determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. And the host school committee so determined that. So what I did is I posted the exact language that they gave me from their posting. And so at some point, Madam Chair, the Nahant School Committee will have to report out the work done in that executive session. Typically, that's only done after the negotiations are completed. As an example, when we negotiate with our NTA, and we have, you and I have an executive session to talk about, you know, what happened in negotiations, what you want, those kinds of things. None of that becomes public until the end of the negotiations, when there has been a tentative agreement. And I mean, it's obvious the intention. The intention is not to influence the negotiations at critical points. You're welcome.
And moving on to new business.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are two items of new business, and one is the school choice. In your packet, you have the email that was sent to me on April 12th by the Associate Commissioner of Communication and Planning for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education about our need to determine what we're going to do with the intra-district school choice participation. The second document is a memo from me to you. And it states that in accordance with state and the state law and DES guidelines, the school committee must vote to determine if the Nahant Public Schools would opt out, meaning not participate in inter-district school choice. And today I actually had a very interesting conversation with a consultant, and I actually brought school choice up because we were talking about many options
Yeah,
to for the future in Nahant.
right.
And one of the individuals I was speaking to was a retired superintendent, like myself. And the other was someone who had worked for that organization for 6 years. And after we talked through it, they agreed with the recommendation I had been making all along. The liability exposure to the school district, a district our size, is potentially huge. The if the school district, if the school committee chooses to open to school choice, to students from other districts. The way it works is, you would get a recommendation from me for numbers. So for example, I would say we can absorb without negative impact 14 sixth graders, 13 fifth graders down the line. And then we would post that, and we would announce that the Nahant Public School System is accepting applications for school choice from other school districts. And the limitation is this number. That decision by the administration must by law be random. That means that if you got 50 applicants for 14 positions, you pull them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
But
what
the
charter,
number
that's
of
what.
students that you accept is.
in control. But who you pick to come to school in your district must be by lottery,
Yeah, that would make sense.
okay? Once you accept a choice student, the district owns the student until one of two things happens. The student graduates high school,
Yes.
or the parent chooses another option of education for their choice, for their student. The receiving district has no options once you choose. Now, let me give you a couple of scenarios. In a district like Somerville, with thousands of students, if one of those school choice students happens to have a life-changing incident in their life, you are protected from tremendous impact by the sheer volume and number that you're dealing with. In our district, that is not the case. One student who comes to us and has an accident and God forbid has some kind of damage, and the receiving district would own all of the educational, physical, and health needs of that student until graduation, which could be 22 years old, depending upon, God forbid again, the incident. Then the second reason I never recommended it here is that we get $5,000 from the district the student resides in.
That's it.
That's it.
I was gonna say, why?
And that's how much
Why
we-
is it
Been
capped
like
at
that 25
$5,000?
years, 40 years.
Then you would have to provide transportation, right? If, because
No, school choice students,
you don't have. to.
you don't have to transport them. It's up to the parents or guardians.
And
The legislature continuously talks about
Increasing that.
increasing that number, and sometimes they actually do it, but then it doesn't get signed.
How is that possible when charters are what, like, whatever the district is gets reimbursed for whoever the charter takes? And they get full tuition.
It's a different law. School choice and
But when
charters,
you think of the essence of what it is, and this is the heart of why people are
Yeah.
erupting over vote schools and their admissions process. And saying it should be a lottery, like, if it should be a lottery one, it should be a lottery for all, and the same rules should apply, that feels crazy. So there's a cap at $5,000.
it is established by the original law. There's a formula that would determine the real amount in today's economy and market to be more like $14,000, but it's never funded.
Yeah, in some districts, Cambridge is over $30,000 per kid right now.
That's right.
Wow.
Yes.
So the net result would be Nahant getting 5,000, which would be fine to sixth grade, because we would have the seats. But then when we pay for students to go to Swampscott, we're taking in 5, and I can tell you, I actually did the math for you for another reason today. This year is fiscal '23. So we are spending $17,469 per student.
And that's the problem, it's, I mean, it sounds, I was really interested to hear about this, because it sounds like a compelling, response to our low numbers.
That's right.
To
But-
send them to Swampscott at 17,000 approximately.
Approximately.
Per child.
But once you leave the sixth grade, it becomes a problem, and I worry that it would, if we decided to participate in this, that it would potentially affect our, our contract with Swampscott.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our contract with Swampscott would be null and void if
Right.
we did school choice. We'd have to, the appropriate process would be, as an example, if you as a school committee wanted me to consider recommending school choice to you next year, we should begin talking to Swampscott now
Yeah, right.
to alter the contract. It really wouldn't be fair to them to spring it on them
So we
No.
vote on this every year?
every year.
To
Yes.
not participate, is generally what has been our history of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how long, but.
And urban districts typically don't have school choice. And the reason is because the flow would be a monumental tracking error. Typically, school choice occurs in rural suburban districts, Cape Cod, for example,
But that
is
must be bigger, they must all be bigger school districts,
than us.
yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Those
there's
districts are bigger.
almost everybody.
Yes.
Just Swampscott?
I don't believe so. We'll find out Thursday.
Well,
We'll ask.
I don't think so, because they do, would they still do address checks if they did that? Or would they just have certain towns that they're open to?
Yeah.
With school choice? Like, can you cherry pick the towns that you're open to?
No. Nope.
So then they must not have school choice, because they do check your, well, as of
Well,
years.
yeah,
ago,
but they
check
might be
your-
just checking the people that are listed as residents, they might still participate in school choice, knowing that those people that are enrolled by school choice are along those lines. I'm just interested
Who
in
determines, so how do you determine the districts that would be involved? Like the towns
school
and
committees
these,
vote on that.
so we would choose the towns?
No.
No.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
It's open.
yes,
And
anybody
to
from
all town in Massachusetts?
we could get somebody from Western Mass. And
Yeah, as
they would
a,
have to transport their kid here.
No, I know, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure, is it like within, like, is there a radius or something? Yeah.
nope. I mean, it typically is limited by logic,
Yeah, yeah.
Right. because
but
you
I
have to
can,
get there.
I can give you concrete examples. The 3 Sundays ago, I went to a lacrosse game at Nauset Regional High School, where my middle grandson was playing high school lacrosse, representing Groton Dunstable High School. They just happened to have a lacrosse game. I was sitting next to a gentleman who was an official, a lacrosse official who was observing the lacrosse officials, that they do things just like our principal does. They observe the officials to see, how they're doing. And I started a conversation with him. And I said, wow, that I'm 19, it's very, very good. He looked at me and said, yeah, he's from Sandwich. And I said, oh, school choice. And he said, yes. I said, that's interesting. He said, yeah, we have 200 school choice students coming into our district. Most of them are male and most of them are athletes. Now, here's where this,
Lottery.
here's what
I know, I was gonna say how.
well, if you have, if the school district has 300 high school slots. And you only have 200 applicants, everybody gets in, right? But here's where it becomes interesting. Nauset Regional High School, where I own a home, just approved a $132 million expansion for their high school only necessitated because of school choice.
Wow.
And there were some people who were very upset by that. Now, the renovation was needed, but the size of the renovation was dictated by the total number of students, 200 of which are school choice students.
But they could always lower that number, right? I mean, that's up to them to say.
No.
No, because I was thinking about that for us. is that
Once
the
they're in
capacity-
until graduation, that's the number one rule
Oh, right, but.
in the future.
In the future, like incoming.
Yes.
Like at the very.
And you,
beginning
if the
of
school district sets the number, like if we had wanted to do it, you could say that
I didn't
we're gonna
think so.
let in 13, 12 more kids in the 5th grade and 14.
Yeah.
Because
kids
isn't
in
it
the
a
6th grade.
capacity? Isn't
And
it
then
a
1,000
basic
parents from
capacity?
then would apply for.
It is a capacity issue,
Right.
but the
Like, we
fascinating
have
thing
space there
is,
for more kids.
when you talk about capital projects,
Right, awesome thing.
if you assume the capacity that you invite in, you have to improve your facility to include them.
Yeah.
It's just,
make any sense to increase it above your capacity. I think the biggest decision making is the fact that it's until grade 12. in my
That's right.
opinion.
Yeah, and we would
Like, we
have
can
to-
absorb them in this school, but what happens after grade 6?
Yeah, and I think that we would be, like Tony said, unfair to Swampscott if we
Yes.
made that decision,
Of course.
you know.
on Cape Cod, school choice is a long-standing tradition since the law was passed. So when I was the superintendent at Dennis Yarmouth, for example, I was focused on making sure that we were, as a school district, balancing the numbers in and out. And it took me 4 years. When I got there, I can't quote the data exactly, it's 20 years ago. But more students were leaving Dennis Yarmouth than coming in. When I left, it was just about within 10 students of being balanced. And now that school district loses approximately 140 students a year to the surrounding district. It's really, for a district our size, an interesting discussion, particularly this year. You know, if we have 20 kids in every class, it's not really a discussion, because
Right.
any student you open up would mean another classroom. But this year, with our numbers in 4th and 5th grade, I paused
Right.
and I thought about it. As a matter of fact, I talked to the chair about it weeks ago, about, this is a way to do it. But it would certainly change the culture of the school district and the school and create potential liability. And therefore, I recommend, both in writing and orally, that the Nahant Public Schools not participate in the inter-district school choice program. And Madam Chair, in the document in front of you is a motion of,
I'll make a motion for the Nahant School Committee to withdraw Nahant Public Schools from the inter-district school committee choice program for the 2023-2024 school year in accordance with PGL chapter 76, section 12. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for explaining all that.
oh, that's all right. Who was the second, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Michelle.
And I apologize for that typo. I was far away.
It's okay.
It looked correct from Florida. Madam Chair, the second order of business under new business is a request not to maintain grades K-12 in the Nahant Public Schools. On an annual basis, the superintendent of schools, via a motion and an approval by the school district, needs the state school board's approval not to educate all of its students from kindergarten through 12th grade. We've had some interesting debates as superintendents. Because as you know, the state law for educating students was increased about 5 years ago to 17 years old. But there's no state law requiring kids to go to school past 17. Except the Department of Elementary Secondary Education requires us, in order to get everything they give us, to educate kids to graduation. There is also no state law that requires preschool. But there is state law that requires kindergarten. There is no state law to this date that requires all-day kindergarten, but we have it. So just to give you the full landscape. This is different language than the school committee has approved in the past. And in the past, the motion I wrote for the school district would include the number 7th through 12th grade. In this motion, I am asking you to globally approve that you are not going to have a K-12 system. And that I would firm this up with the department once we know what we're doing, but this has to get in. So as a matter of fact, it may generate some questions at the department because they have on file the contract with Swampscott, which is 7/12, and then this motion is different. But obviously, have to get the motion in.
Yes.
You have to get the approval. I mean, it's de facto. I mean, the school board can't require, make you educate kids.
Right.
But they do have the legal right to question it, and they do approve it. So just like I make a recommendation to you, what happens is the Commissioner of Education gets all the districts on a list, presents it before the Board of Education, and the Board of Education approves pro forma of all of the districts that tuition or make other accommodations for their school district, so that all residing students can have a kindergarten through 12th grade education. And in different places, it's really different. And it really is depending upon the particular district. Typically, they're smaller districts. Some are a little, some are quite large. Dover, New Hampshire, for example, sends all of their high school students to a private school. They don't have their own public high school. And that, of course, is approved by the New Hampshire Board of Education. We are obviously sitting next to Swampscott. We used to send our students to Lynn back in the day, and it used to only be high school. We had our own middle school until the middle school was not rebuilt.
Karen,
And
didn't you
improved.
say we had it to the 9th grade at one
Ninth
point?
grade, yeah, so it would be like a junior high.
Yeah, I
And
really
then
want
this-
to find out more about the history.
And then the students went to Lynn. And then they went to Swampscott. And so, Madam Chair, I have written a motion before you that would authorize me to communicate with the department, the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education, that the Nahant has no intention in the 2023-24 school year of having a K-12 education system.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the Nahant School Committee approve not maintaining a K-12 educational program and tuition students that are not educated in the Nahant Public Schools to the Swampscott Public Schools for the 2023 to 2024 school year, The superintendent of schools is authorized to submit appropriate notice and all required documents to the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education.
I second. Motion made by Ms. Dowd.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moving on to other committee business.
I have this a note of thanks I would like to share to Misty Andrews in the school generally. I had the opportunity to come in yesterday and speak to Ms. Rademacher's Mrs. Kovas's class. And it was just really enjoyable, and the kids were really engaged and interested, and I just, about my job, yeah, and I really enjoyed that, so, it prompted me to come, to do that, to engage in that, because of a letter that was sent home from the teachers to say, if you have a job or something that you do that's interesting, you know, would be welcome to do that, and then, so I reached out to them. I recently came in and did another presentation with the second grade, one of the second grade classes with my son is in, so. I encourage other people to do the same. It was really fun. It was a great experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
I wish I could have sat in on that. I actually did. And that's.
Michelle's on tour, she's my wife's school too,
Oh,
and I'm next.
Madam Chair, I apologize. When we were talking about the under old business, the 2023-24 grade 5-6 plans. I should have said this then, but I think it's important for the members of the school committee and our guests to know that today I had a conference call with 2 staff members from NESDEC, the New England Council of Schools, and talked to them about the long-range planning, being a consultant.
You sent us
And
some
those
information.
individuals will be forwarding me a proposal,
Great.
which obviously I will bring to you.
Yeah.
And we had a very lengthy talk about, and they verified several things that I had said to you, so I think it's important for you to hear them again. Number one, they will not make a recommendation. They will give options, pros and cons. Then it's up to you and the community to decide what the future looks like. Number two, they will make some educational recommendations. But both of the consultants that I spoke with verified my opinion that the way schools are broken up in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is basically because of building size and capacity. That there's no right way to do it.
Yeah.
There's middle schools that are 7 and 8 only. There are middle schools, they go down to 4th grade. Most typically, they told me, in my experience, for 27 years, I was in a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school in 2 different states. That's pretty typical, but obviously Swampscott starts at 5. And with their new construction of the elementary school that was designed for the numbers they have to 4th grade, that's not going to change. And there is space in the middle school. So they're not going to reduce the number of grades in middle school. If anything, if they get overcrowded, they may bring up 4th grade. Obviously, I don't know that. My assumption and my interpretation is that it'll stay the way it is. K4.
Yeah.
5, 8, 9, 12.
I had 2 things on that, Tony, that I've been thinking about. One, I was over the vacation, I had the opportunity to hang out with a friend of Susanna's and mine, who is a teacher at Swampscott Middle School. And this is totally completely anecdotal. But I was asking her about 5th grade academy, right? Because 5th grade in Swampscott, regardless of whether you feel like it should be in elementary, it is in its own special category. It is not the same as 6th, 7th, and 8th, which kind of travel as regular grades, right, inside of a middle school umbrella.
Departmentalized.
Right, and so I think it is important to have more non-anecdotal information, my, friend of a friend, I think it's, I think it might be interesting to bring that up on Thursday, and get some more information. So that when we do the next session, that I imagine we'll have some visitors that will want to ask questions and we can share what we found out about fifth grade academy that's legitimately from the school.
Yes.
So that we can consider that as we consider the, right? I know that right now is about sixth grade, but it does bring up our fifth grade, and so it would be good to talk about how it is. Sort of, it feels almost like a bridge, sort of academy type of thing, right? So that's just one comment. The second is that, back to the consultant. You sent us information about the consultant,
I did.
and I took a look at it, it's good. I still, in addition to whatever that consultant might be able to offer us in terms of decision, helping us look at everything we need to look at to make a final decision here about sixth grade. I do think that based on what I've heard from folks that have weighed in here and taken the time to come in and meet with us or send us information, it seems we should have some guidance from somebody to talk about sort of the middle school development years. And what, from a social emotional standpoint and an academic standpoint, what happens with middle school adolescents typically, and weigh in on where they might be best served. Again, not to make a decision for us or give us an opinion, but to give us some input, us and parents, especially, information on the conditions for success for us, the best conditions for success for a sixth grader, let's say, or a fifth grader underneath these terms. Because there did feel like there were a lot of differences of opinion. And I think I do want to protect the integrity of the educational system, getting to make decisions about what is best for the educational life of a child, which includes their social and emotional life, right, while they're in school. So I think to speak from that educationally, again, parents will always be able to make their own decision, which is always going to be the best decision for their particular child. But I think we need to offer as a system some information so they can make those good decisions for their kids.
Can I ask a question? So I was under the assumption that if we did have this consultant or consultants help us, that would be for more long-term planning.
Yes.
That we weren't
Yes.
gonna have the consultants help us with this short-term.
Agreed.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify.
I'm
Yes,
sorry, Brian.
No,
More
you
of those
didn't, but
things,
I
yeah.
also wanted to just like
Yeah.
jog my memory and
Right.
make sure that I'm
Yeah.
understanding that that's the plan.
Right, and I think, I think if we did something like this for the summer or the fall, probably more like fall, in thinking about our fifth grade, right? Without knowing whatever I don't know that will happen in the future. I do think it may make the sixth grade parent, and I had all of the, the various viewpoints swirling around in my head, and I wasn't an educator by trade, it might make me feel better to talk to somebody, right? Or hear from somebody who can kind of weigh in on where kids are developing.
And did I misread? I thought the information that you provided, there was something in
No,
Do
they
they
can do that.
do
there.
that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I thought
inside of
that
that?
I read that,
Yeah.
and that's
Okay.
why, yeah.
they
But I
can
do-
provide academic, social, emotional. As a matter of fact, they typically do a facility studies. I told them they don't need to do that.
Yeah,
And they typically do a long-term demographic. And actually, I
yeah, I
did,
saw that.
I sent it to you today, so we're out to 31-32, I believe. From memory. So they'll take that, they'll run with it. They'll do a live birth study, they'll do a percentage of live birth versus kindergarten entry. So in other words, 5 years before a kindergarten class, how many kids were born in Nahant? They also will do a comparison to communities like us. What live births percentages versus grades at particular time snapshots. Because coastal communities are notorious and infamous And for live births not being very accurate when it comes to how many people graduate, how many kids graduate high school or in ninth grade. Because of the cost of the community, lots of parents move in when their children are already of school age.
Right.
So they can look at that and then do, they have data of multiple school districts. And they can do a flow chart estimate. Which I can't do.
And all of that, I think, is really important to help us plan from an administrative, financial, what kind of school we want to be. I'm just lifting the piece that I think needs to come from somebody who deeply knows middle school kids. And can offer parents some guidance. I really heard a lot of things,
Yeah.
in the parents, coming from a deep parental care for their kid.
Yeah.
And I really strongly feel like this would help.
The Madam Chair, if I may. NESDEC can get an individual who has been in middle schools for a quarter of a century and give you perceptions. I doubt if it's going to be definitive. It certainly will be better than anecdotal,
Yes.
but the reality is there are people who think middle schools are terrible and prefer K-8.
Okay.
They don't want their kids anywhere near middle schools. Somerville has never had a middle school. It went from 7, 8, 9 junior high schools right to K-8s 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and is still that way. Other districts make other decisions. We can get a lot of information, so there's a lot of information on the internet. But it will boil down to,
The child and the parent.
yeah. Now, the second thing I wanted to say is our 6th grade parents made it very clear in writing what they want. So September really has a path for the 6th graders next year. I think the 5th graders, I'm not as confident that we know what that path may be. I'm not as confident from 2 vantage points. One is from the parents and guardians. What would they prefer? I mean, clearly, a couple of people made it very clear that they wanted to move with the 6th graders. I'm not sure, but that number is dwindling. The number of 5th graders, as my understanding, is down to 7
From 9?
from 9
For next year.
for next year.
But not on the,
For the fall.
I didn't see that in
For
the.
the fall.
It is
Oh, I
9.
think that's-
Nice.
I can't keep changing those numbers. I have to give you.
Okay,
That's
so we know-
October. Remember, we talked about this. That's October 1st data.
Yeah, so, okay, so when we heard from one of the parents last time that we know that number is less, we've officially heard that 10 people are not.
Because we encourage parents publicly to
That's
say.
correct.
We
They have to
encourage
say
them
their
to
no.
the principal, and the principal has had conversations with,
Okay.
well, one parent has left the district.
Right.
And one will not be sending their child to any school. They will be homeschooling next year. So we know that number is 7 now.
And
We also know that the 6th grade next year is 5, not 6. But the data is now, I have updated data to share with you, but I can't keep changing the numbers
Of course.
as I explained to you. However, on Thursday, I will explain to our hosts that the real number for next year of 6th graders is 5 and of 5th graders is 7, so we're talking about a total of 12.
But again, what we anticipate, if the plan changes, that number, like, we realize that we can't be telling them that it's a definite 5.
But it's
You know,
never that.
Yeah, exactly. People, aside from the fact that people could move in and that number
Right.
could change. even the people that live in Nahant, it depending upon the plan, their plan might change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm gonna reiterate something I said vehemently last time. If there's no 5th and 6th grade here, there's no 5th and 6th grade here.
Right, they
Right.
can't just come.
They,
Yes.
they can't,
Well, this is.
they can't decide that they would, you know, 5 parents can't get together and say, oh, this was a bad idea.
Let's go back.
Let's go
Oh,
back.
no, God, no.
And I need to actually speak with a lawyer about how we do that,
Yeah,
because typically that's not in my authority or yours.
yeah.
But it's, but it's an agreement with Swampscott. So if, just like a 7th grade or 8th grade or 10th grade parent can't say, I want my.
Right.
My child or to go to in the school in the Hunt.
There's no
I
way we
envision
don't
it
have
as
an
the same.
And there's no grade deal.
Think if we made that
Oh,
agreement.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, it's.
I totally agree with you. I just want to make sure that you are on strong legal
Yeah,
ground.
that's, yeah,
I mean, historically, for many, many years, there's never been a 7th through 12th grade here, so no one ever had an expectation of there being one. Now, if that changes, we have to make sure that there is a clear understanding of what that means, which is why I was so vehement. Because as we all know, as you said, things change, 5 more kids wanna come in. I mean, I don't know.
But the way that we worded it, we just voted upon the request not to maintain grades K through 12. Allows you to firm up the details of what that
Yes.
includes.
Yes,
To the Massachusetts, Department of Education, once we know what the plan is for the fall.
absolutely.
But can I just also say that in talking about all of this, my understanding of this whole situation is that the very reason that this came up. Was because of the combination, the potential to combine 5th and 6th grade, right? So, we all, have discussed at length. That, it's not the best for just 5 students to be in 6th grade, right? But I think you can also say that we've discussed like maintaining the school and the population in the school, and so I just wanna be cautious and, saying that. Just because there are 7, that they should go also.
I agree with you.
right.
Okay.
Right, and I think this is what we look forward to talking
Okay.
about in detail on Thursday,
Okay.
right? With them, it's like, we have to look at all of the information.
Yeah. I've worked out numbers to bring on Thursday.
Great.
You probably knew that, I would do that.
Yeah.
But it's based on 12. Because that's the best information I have. It's not a set number, it never is. That's why we have agreed with Swampscott for a percentage increase. Rather than going back 2 contracts ago, where every spring, when the superintendent developed the budget. He or she would develop a budget based on the number of students that were going to Swampscott on October 1st the previous year. Which always turned out to be the wrong number.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
When you said 12 6th graders,
Right, no, it's 5.
5 and 6.
5 6th graders. 7 5th graders, but the information is being proposed as 2 different discussions or the same discussion? 'Cause I
No,
think there's-
it's-
it's the same,
That's up to you.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you data.
Right.
I'm not. You know,
Proposing it.
you will be shocked at how quiet I am on Thursday. Because I am not a decision maker. If you ask me for my opinion, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But I will be in listening mode, but you will have a document in front of you. Similar to the one I sent you today with even more details.
yeah, because, where we have heard that the 6th grade parents in collaboration want their kids to go there. But it's hard to discuss just sending the 6th graders with a group of 5 and not talk about sending the 5th graders with a group of now 7. And talk about that in 2 ways.
Right.
One, talk about that in that, like. all the same things that we said about small class size, missing out, social emotional learning,
Yes.
all of that bears for the fifth grade too. And we also have to take into account that losing 2 grades in a school system, Nahant size, may affect the whole, and I'm not talking about finances. I'm leading, though that's something, I'm leading with like, that affects everyone,
Yeah.
right?
It's-
They're also younger kids. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think
just
that-
my fear, my
Yeah.
fear is that if we don't really. And I'm not saying about long-term decisions, I'm talking about for the fall, because that's a whole other thing that we're gonna have to deal with. But like my fear is that if we don't really thoroughly look at setting the fifth graders to. Then we may not be able to have fifth grade. Or meaning some of the kids, if they have to, if we have to figure out a way to have them join the fourth grade, or we have to figure out a way to get them here. Then the families won't be happy, and then that's another issue.
Yeah, it's a great
So,
point.
so that's where I see it, as like. Cause I thought that we did hear from the fifth grade parents.
We did
Well,
some,
We just,
Okay,
okay,
I think that we heard pretty loud and clear that the fifth grade parents also, the
Didn't
ones
wanna
that
come.
spoke didn't want to combine. So whether or not to go
Yeah.
or stay. I also just want to bring up that if we were to send both, I think this is what you're, part of what you're saying, Beth, is that if we send both, that is the, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a staff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like-
It's a whole school thing.
it's a reorganization.
In my opinion, I view them as two separate
Me too.
conversations.
Yes. I actually do too,
Yeah,
it's hard because the numbers are so close.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, but
You know-
maturity wise, developmentally wise, all of those things we have to navigate,
I actually completely agree.
yes, yes.
I don't think it should be packaged together, is what I'm saying.
No,
It could be a conversation, but not the same
right,
conversation.
yes, yes, yes.
The actual conversation with Swampscott on Thursday is decidedly different. 5 students is a blip,
Yes.
12 not so much.
Right, and also I remember from our first when you had the initial conversation with the superintendent or the school committee chair, whichever one happened first. That middle school absorption is different than fifth grade absorption from their standpoint also. That we.
Yeah.
Absorbing fifth graders,
I-
because it's a different. Level. I thought that.
Absolutely.
That was
What I. In my experience, which in middle schools is. 27 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of experience. The first grade of a middle school is always what's known as a blending year. So you have students coming in from. A whole bunch of places. And they are typically left. In isolation. As a grade. Whether it be 4th grade, 5th grade, or 6th grade. They are treated differently than the rest of the school, which is always. Departmentalized in preparation for high school. Some districts, like when I was in Barnstable 1,000 years ago, there was a separate building. All the elementary students went to one building in 5th grade. From all over the town. And it was a unifying year, it was a year for students to get on the same page who came from different elementary schools who may have had different levels of academia going on. And that's the 5th grade in Swampscott.
Right.
Different doors, different schedule. So it's very different than the 6th grade, you're absolutely right.
And then the one other thing, and Michelle brought this up at the last meeting. Is that in tandem with this, I think it would behoove the school to look at different ways of learning. And learning academically, socially, emotionally, for when these types of situations arise, because we can't just knee jerk and send. A 3rd grade class
Agreed,
to
right,
Swampscott. Like, we never know, there are ups and downs in population, and we never know. When this could come up in a situation when in a class where it doesn't make any sense to go anywhere other than being, and we wanna make sure that we're supporting the students and the staff. From all different aspects of learning.
So we changing the teaching. In the.
Yeah, or just like trying that fluidity of understanding how to do it if the time came. Yeah.
To be in a position.
Yes.
One of the options I discussed with the NESDEC consultants was multi-grading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will be on their list.
That's
Of pros and
that's really
cons.
great.
Yes.
Yeah,
And actually, one of them was very supportive of multi-grading in elementary school.
yeah. I mean, just bringing up the business, like just having both the current fifth and sixth grade class, to talk about the subject. They were all engaged, they were all listening, they were all asking appropriate questions,
Yes.
would have noticed.
When you taught your thing, it was.
Yeah.
And I guess, Tony, like that was another thing that was just interesting for me, to sit and listen to as a school committee member and also like, being an educator too, is that when you were trying to explain about how there's a third way when you think about the combining of classes to folks who don't, some of whom do and some don't have it, a insertion point here. We're like, well, if you need to know ancient Egypt in this way, and you need to know, this part of US history in this way, then how the heck do you have enough time? Which from a binary position makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And I think so, in order to talk about a different way of thinking about how curriculum can be put together to effectively reach Massachusetts state standards, which it absolutely can. I think we need to have some more, we need more space and time, but with that space and time, think about how we want to present this out so that we can bring parents along the way. Right? And I think it's like multi-modalities, I think it's really specific examples, I think it's a day in the life of us, or perhaps a curriculum map, what they'll have at the end of the year. You talked about thematic learning, big fan. I think, there's lots of opportunity there for teachers here and you both to bring parents along with time that we don't have right now. But I think the questions indicate that there needs to be some more public education.
Yes.
Right, so, and I think we can get there.
Yeah, and I recognize that we don't have all the time until the fall, but I just, Tony, you said, there's a clear path for the sixth grade, but we don't know that is actually a clear path. And until like that, we know what the parents want, we know what seems to make the most sense, but literally until we meet on Thursday.
Yes, correct.
I mean, any messages that you've been getting until it's done and signed is not a done deal. So I think that we need to be actively actually thinking about what plan B would be.
Yeah.
Because
That's how we
until
still were, right?
Just in case, yeah.
just bringing it up again.
Yeah,
For the fall,
perhaps I misspoke when I said a clear path.
right?
I
Their
probably should,
desire,
yeah, I should have said a clear
I know what you meant.
preference,
wish,
preference.
Yes.
preference.
Yes,
And with 5 students, it's probably the least resistible.
and I think we
From
all agreed
Swampscott.
about that was what we all thought would make sense for the sixth graders as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
we're just making a lot of.
That's
that
right.
we don't know.
One other item, and I'm really curious, is do we know when the sixth grade will have their graduation ceremony?
Yes,
yes, okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, if I missed it, I missed it.
It's- I sent it out to you, Patty. Did you?
Um,
June 14th, Wednesday.
Yes.
June 14th, yeah.
In the, I think since our last meeting, we had the selectmen vote to approve the use of it.
Oh, for
That was
For
the
the town,
yeah, town hall,
town hall.
Wednesday.
the big room. Which,
New curtains and new.
new curtains, and it should have a new sound system by then.
Can I,
The club.
again, a tangential question, if the fifth graders move on, like, will it be a combined fifth and sixth graduation?
You think, we'll begin thinking on our feet.
Could be.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought about that, thought of a lot of things.
Just a
Makes
lot of
sense,
things
this
to think
is a good
about.
question.
And again, we're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
It can be discussed, but all things very thoughtful.
a good point.
We'll have plenty of room.
Yeah,
The
discussions can happen after the plan is final.
And is the town hall the only option for venue?
It's
And I asked this because I have had parents saying. "The country club?"
Yeah, so I did ask Mr. Andrews about that, and so that would require some setup. And I think what we had talked about was maybe like, maybe it could be an option, but we sort of knew that we were waiting for this. To hear that we could first use the town hall for sure,
Mhm.
right? But we know that it will take some setup. To the
And, you know, you need to consider weather,
rain,
so we need a backup, which was town hall.
right?
Not that. It feels like it's a bigger lift to do it at the country club. We have to have someone pay for it or arrange it. And then also the outside piece of it. And then the capacity is a little, well. You can have an infinite capacity outside, right? But we had a small capacity at the last time when we did use it, I believe, because of it was so close to COVID still. Because we filled the town hall.
Yeah.
So that's 250 seats. Yeah,
The only other announcement I have is the town meeting this week. I'm just gonna keep it on the announcements until. Yes.
And I'm running again for school committee, so vote for me Saturday, please.
As a I, so vote.
Vote for us on Saturday.
When?
I'm not
We
gonna
don't-
vote.
Neither do you.
And we voted town hall, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
This will be my first.
People are voting already,
I know,
Oh, yeah.
yes, you can vote now.
because this state passed a law about early voting.
Okay, as my mom said.
May 2nd, did you say?
Me for town meeting
April
is-
29th.
Well, this Saturday is the voting, but the town meeting.
Oh, yes, I did. I
All right.
Yeah,
She texted you. Love this.
Does anyone have any other announcements before we take a motion to adjourn? Yes,
No.
may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn into executive session, not to return to open session. With the reason to approve the minutes from the March 14 executive session. Conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. Or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And to conduct a strategy session with respect to collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have detrimental effect on bargaining or litigation position of the public body and the chair so declares.
I'll second it. Thank you. All in favor?
I.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks. Thank you. Kevin, I'm so glad to see those stairs. I was that mom. That
Oh.
was like, don't go up the side.
Thank you.
Slide."
Thank you for trying to stop them. It's impossible. You just have to, you need a structure of some kind. Good.
I mean, I think it took me 3 minutes to say that.